Thank you, Gary, for that kind introduction and for producing our webinar today. And thanks most of all to our audience, the Tech Labs and XCal customers and partners for joining us this afternoon. We're very excited to see so many people who have taken the time to register for our event today. I think it's a testament to the value of the content we're going to share, as well as the timeliness and the quality of our presenters, who I will introduce to you in just a moment. But before I do that, I would like to bring this topic into focus in our region, which is the West and Mountain West. Before the COVID crisis began, the research firm eMarketer had predicted that the global e-commerce market would reach $5 trillion by 2021. This would have represented a 40% annual growth rate over 2 years, and that was prior to COVID. Obviously with COVID, this has been accelerated, as we've all seen and have probably personally seen at our front doorstep with online ordering as a major uptick. This rapid growth has put a significant stress on the entire e-commerce supply chain, including distribution, warehousing, and operations. As they seek to alleviate these constraints in these operations, by moving towards automation, we're seeing a rapid expansion across our region. And today I wanted to highlight a few of those. The Amazon facility that's being opened in Albuquerque, New Mexico is a great example of how our states are reacting to this great trend and uptick in e-commerce. They're going to hire around 1,000 people for this new facility in Albuquerque, New Mexico. If we move over to Texas, in North Texas, there's a massive expansion. One great example is in Forney, Texas. Amazon is building a new fulfillment center that will be 1.2 million square feet. And that's going to represent thousands of jobs. Also in Colorado, you'll find that FedEx is having a major expansion outside of Colorado Springs in a small town called Meade. This also represents a great deal of jobs. Just this past week in Waco, Texas, the governor and Amazon announced a 700,000 square foot, 3-story robotics and automation fulfillment center. I find that to be absolutely intriguing. We could go through lists of examples in Oklahoma, Colorado, as well as in Utah. Unfortunately, today we don't have time, but we do have time to point out that expansion is going to create jobs, and that jobs creates capacity. And Amazon has expected or announced that they have to hire up to or exceeding 100,000 people to work in these fulfillment centers. Just a few we've given just now. Walmart in March announced that they're going to hire 150,000 plus people for just supply chain automation. That was just this year, in reaction to this uptick in e-commerce and sales that we've all seen this year due to COVID as well as generic expansion. If we were to look at specifically Dallas, Texas, right now there's 25 million square feet of warehousing and distribution fulfillment centers being built just in the greater DFW area. So what does this mean to us? This means that we're going to have to help upskill and train and close the skills gap, which is going to get even more competitive with many manufacturers and skilled trades people looking to hire. We have to find a way to close that skills gap, specifically in supply chain automation. That's why I'm very excited to introduce to you today some of the most sought after and respected authorities on supply chain automation, who are going to share some of the challenges and the opportunities that are in front of all of us on what we can do regarding best practices to upskill and certify the supply chain automation workforce that's needed in our region. First, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Steve Harrington. Steve Harrington is the industry liaison for the National Center for Supply Chain Automation. In this role, he is responsible for the development and oversight of a national industry leadership team consisting of supply chain executives and logistics industry stakeholders. He has 28 years plus of experience in supply chain operations. Steve, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you so much, Warner. Great to be here.
Following Steve, we'll hear from my good friend, Mr. Neil Reddy. Mr. Reddy is the co-founder of the Manufacturing Skills Standard Council, also known as MSSC, an industry-led nonprofit training and assessment certification organization focused on core technical competencies needed by the nation's frontline production and material handling workers. Today, Mr. Reddy oversees all aspects of MSSC, from operations to marketing. Neil, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Warner. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Finally, following Mr. Reddy, will be another friend of mine, Mr. Paul Perkins. Mr. Perkins is the co-founder, president, and CEO of Amatrol, a Jeffersonville, Indiana developer and manufacturer of technical learning systems and online learning materials for teaching skills that prepare individuals for employment in industries such as manufacturing and energy. Amatrol products are used by thousands of colleges, industry training centers, and high schools throughout all 50 states, as well as 53 foreign countries.